So I want to start with a story of a young girl, a toddler. I mean, maybe she's three, around 3 years old. She just loves music. And she has so many musical toys. She has tambourines, pianos, drums. And her favorite was this box. It was a jewelry box. And when you opened it up, this little ballerina would spin around and around, had a little winder on the back. She loved anything with music. And then one day she gets this new toy. It's a beautiful box. It's got bright colors on every side. And on the right side, there's this crank. And when you turn the crank, music played. And the music's happy and she's smiling ear to ear. She just loves it, right? And she kind of starts to hum along. It's a real catchy tune. And she continues to crank. And then on the last crank, the top flew open and a clown jumped out. And the girl rolled on the floor, giddy with joy, just laughing and laughing and laughing. I mean, she loved this toy. And it quickly became her favorite. She'd show it to you every time she saw you, even if that was 10 times in the same morning. She loved this toy because it was something totally unexpected. She got so much more than she could have imagined with this brightly colored box. I think the gospel reading today is just, it's a little bit the same. The people in this story, they're surprised. They got something more than they expected. For many, I mean, they probably went to the synagogue every day, right? And surely they're good teachers, wise scholars. I mean, they likely had favorite people that they like to listen to and that they look forward to hear teaching. But then when Jesus goes to the synagogue to teach, something different happens. The people that were there, I mean, I don't think they were probably expecting anything unusual. They didn't think it was going to be a different day, but they got something different. The people were astounded at his teaching. And then the story goes on and says, that Jesus goes and like casts out a demon of this guy. It's almost like an aside in the story, right? And then it comes back and the gospel says, they were all amazed. They just kept asking one another, what is this? They had seen God really show up in their day. They didn't expect it, and they were really amazed by it. And when I think about our days, I think that they can get to be pretty ordinary. I mean, especially true over the last year, right? It feels like we're on, day whatever of COVID on repeat. And we really don't expect, much different to happen to us today than has happened in previous days. And we just get used to ordinary. We get used to how we know and experience God. And, we know and experience God in our sermon and in the Eucharist, although I actually think that's been so long that the next time we do that, it won't feel ordinary at all. But, right now we are experiencing God in our times together here on Sunday at Compline, in our sundries distributions, in our prayer shaws. And there's no doubt that we do experience God in all of these ways, but it becomes a little expected, and I think that we can lose amazement. And when we stop and we really think about God and our relationship with God, it is amazing. It is amazing that the God of creation, the God who is beyond time, is here with us, engaged in our days. And he wants to have a relationship and an interaction with us. And that is amazing. And, we need new ways to see God and to be amazed in ways that can help us break through the ordinary. And the question really is, that's all great, but how? How do we actually do that? And I want to talk about two different ways that I think that we can use, or some tools to really help us see God just in our ordinary days. First, in Lent, we're going to start this new series called Taste and See, right? And the whole purpose of the study is to help us to see Jesus in our day using our five senses, right? We're going to look at, how smells, sounds, and sights, all evoke an experience with God. And the study, it's supposed to be a way for us to be a little more aware of how God is around us each day. And maybe how he shows up for us in unexpected expressions. And so I'll actually put a copy of the book or the book cover out on Facebook. Take a look and see if it's something that you're interested in and you want to join in this study. Another way that I want to talk about seeing God in our day, or inviting the experience of becoming amazed, is an exercise from Ignatian spirituality. And you may be familiar with it, and maybe you've even done it, but it's this discipline called the examen. And the purpose of this is to really help us to see God in our day, all throughout our whole day, and really to break out of the ordinary and allow ourselves just to be astounded. So it's typically done at the end of the day, and you go find a quiet place, start with a prayer, and ask for some guidance. And then you play back your day like a movie, looking for where you saw God in the day. And I think it can be really hard when you first start. You're right, you're playing the movie back and you're thinking, no, no, nothing. God, he just wasn't there. And I think that you should almost expect, I mean, I hate to say expect that, but in some ways, the first time you try to do this, that's really, really common. And so if that does happen, don't worry, just slow it down. Just slow down the movie and think about each of your personal interactions during the day. Was there a time in the day where you saw an act of kindness? Maybe you were the one being kind, or maybe it was someone else. Was there a moment when you almost got it, where you got angry and you almost said something hurtful, but you didn't? That's God. Some days, we see God in the sun that's glistening through the trees. And I'll say for me, it's often how the light hits Mount Si, with the beautiful colors just reflecting off the mountain. For me, that's a time I just know that God is there. And once you've done this for a while, once we have done this for a while, we're just amazed to see how God shows up over and over and over in our days. God is with us every day. He's not this God that's, way up in the sky, just waiting, disengaged, kind of like twiddling his thumbs until we all die and go to heaven, right? I mean, he interacts with us in his creation every day. We just need to train our eyes to see it and our hearts to know it. Taking the time at the end of the day to see where God showed up and what would otherwise be an ordinary day, it just changes us. We become people who are continuously amazed by God, and we become people who know, and I mean really know, that God is here with us. Our days are made up of God's fingerprints and his breath. Why wouldn't we want to stop and recall that each day? So I really encourage you to try this practice. I mean, I think you might love it. As you do it, it is worth trying to journal. And I know that not everyone likes to journal, but even writing down a few short sentences or a few words, or even drawing a picture about how you saw God in your day, can be really meaningful. It helps create focus, and so that it's not some fleeting thought, that just slips away. We've all had that experience where we think, oh, I got to tell you something, and it's gone, right? And we don't want that to happen with the way that we experience God in our days, right? We want to be able to remember those times. And my journal, I find it's a reminder of how I've seen God over time, it which can change. It does change. And sometimes I just need to go back and be reminded of, how did God show up for me, maybe during a really hard time, or maybe a really wonderful time, when something wonderful was happening. And the journal helps us create new memories of God's faithfulness. And I think we need these new memories. And so if you're doing the practice, you're journaling about it, the last thing that I would say to do is to share. Share with a spouse, a friend, someone at church, or I mean, heck, you can call me, because I love this stuff and I would love to hear how God is showing up for you in your days. But something just happens when we share. Just like journaling creates memory, sharing creates energy. So we feel this amazement and this excitement all over again just a little amped. It's another way that helps us remember. It takes all those thoughts and memories and just helps them seep in. So you can tell I love this. Um, Now, I do know it's been a hard year, right? And it's, you might be listening to this and thinking, I can't do one more thing, or everything kind of sucks right now. God is not showing up, and I don't really have the energy to look. Or sounds great, but I don't really get it. And I think that we have to acknowledge that all these reactions are okay and maybe kind of expected, actually. Um, if if you feel like you just can't try to take it on, um, then I would say consider joining the Taste and See study. It'll be a little easier because we're all going to do it together, right? And we can just help each other to create some new perspectives. If you're interested but you don't just quite get it, it's like I kind of want to do that, but what did you say? I'm going to put a roadmap on Facebook that you can use to sort of walk through the steps. And again, you can call me and I'd love to practice together. Um, you know, if you feel like you can't do either one, it's just too much right now, I think that's fine. Just pray that God will make you ready when it's the right time for you. And there'll be a right time, and it may not be now. My prayer for all of us is that we see how God shows up for us every day, how he is here, and how he reaches out to us to show his love and his deep desire for connection. I pray that we are all amazed by how active God is in our lives. And when we say, oh my, what is this? We know it is God who is always here. Amen.